Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Jeremy, and movies are terrible. This is the September 12th edition of the show. I appreciate you stopping by this little corner of the internet. As some of you may know, unless you just happen to find this channel on your own. Hey, what's up? As many of you know, I am the guy from Be Terrible Movies. I'm the dude from Be Terrible Movies over there on YouTube. And a lot of you may have followed me over from there. This is the new YouTube channel. I'm going to be putting up regular content over here, even though there's not a lot right now. Hopefully I'll be regularly posting these podcasts, but I would like to hear from you if you enjoy them or not. Because if nobody enjoys them, why would I do them? Except that I love talking about movies, and hopefully that you'll find some value in it and you want to hang out with me and talk about movies, because my wife gets sick of it. She likes movies. She likes me pretty good, but like when I'm following her around, I'm just like, did you know that Star Wars? And she's like, fuck off, dude. Get out of my face. So I was like, well, if I turn on a camera, I can talk for as long as I want to. And if people hear it, right on, man. Even better. And there were like 12 of you guys that watched my video yesterday, so I guess I'm back by popular demand. But not to be too cheeky, I really do appreciate that you would stop by this small channel to just talk movies with me for a little bit. So thank you. Should probably be recording. I'm Jeremy, and movies are terrible. I want to thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Jeremy, and movies are terrible. Thank you for stopping by for the September 12th edition of this new show. I appreciate you. Seriously. I could kind of say it's back by popular demand because, like 11 or 12 people watched it yesterday, so it's getting huge, but seriously, regardless, I know some of you guys know me from Be Terrible Movies. Some of you might have just randomly happened to find this channel, and either way, I appreciate you being here. It does mean a lot, because I started this to talk about movies. I'm a huge fan of movies. My wife, she likes me. She likes movies pretty good and stuff, but at some point, she's just like, enough. So I'm following around like, did you know that J.J. Abrams is directing the 9th Star Wars movie after Colin Trevorrow? And she's just like, I don't care. So I decided, I can turn on the camera, and I can talk to you, which is kind of like talking to myself, but I can do it as long as I want. And if you enjoy it, well, then fantastic. If not, then I'm literally just talking to myself. But we got some cool stuff to talk about today. A lot of it kind of relates to the first video, so if it seems a little redundant, it's because I'm excited about these couple of topics, and I promise I won't retread the same stuff too much. Fuck. I'm Jeremy. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Jeremy, and movies are terrible. Thank you for coming by for the September 12th edition of the new show. I really do appreciate it. I could say that I'm back by popular demand. I mean, 12 of you guys, or maybe 13 of you guys watched yesterday's podcast, so that's cool. No, seriously, it doesn't matter. The point is, if you followed me over here from Be Terrible Movies, or if you're just kind of stumbling upon this channel, it means a lot that you will come by and talk movies with me, because that's why I do this in the first place, because I'm crazy about movies, and even if there's just a few of you and you stick around to the end and you can get something out of it, that's awesome to me, because my wife gets kind of sick of it. She likes me, she likes movies, but at some point she's just like, dude, enough. And I'm like, did you know that Colin Trevorrow just got fired from directing Star Wars? And she's like, just get away from me, shut up. So I decided a long time ago I could turn on the camera and I could talk about movies, and if somebody, gets something out of it, maybe get some entertainment or even a little bit of information, which is about all I have to offer, then it's worth it, you know what I mean? It's just cool to be able to share my love for the craft with you. If nobody watches, and just kind of sharing it with myself, but that's okay. It's okay. It's fun. So I'm going to touch on a little bit of the same content and a little bit of the same topics that we talked about yesterday. If it seems a little redundant, I apologize. Just I'm going to recap some of the things that were discussed. If you haven't had a chance to hear that conversation, boom, check down in the description. I will provide a link so you can go check that out. I don't think it matters which one you watch first. We're going to talk a little bit about It, the clown movie, because I don't think anybody else has done it yet, so I'm going to be the first one to talk about that movie. And then we're going to talk about The Shape of Water, a little bit of potential Oscar buzz and maybe some nominations that it may get. And we're also going to talk about, I don't know, what else do you guys want to talk about? We're going to talk about dead air and the importance of not having dead air. We're going to talk about Hellboy casting news. We're going to talk about John Carpenter potentially scoring Halloween reboot done by Danny McBride and somebody else. Let's see what his name is. Yeah. I want to say Cody Smith McPhee. It's one of those names it's like one of those 3 name jokers. Let's see. Do you like my dead air? No, I'm sure you don't. I'm sure you don't. Let me pull up another article real quick. Let's see. Halloween's coming up pretty soon, though. Not the movie, but the season. It's like my favorite time of year. People say the most wonderful time of the year, and I'm like, not Christmas, man. It's Halloween. It's not going to be a remake, is what Danny McBride says. It's going to continue the story of Michael Myers in a grounded way. Okay, so his name's David Gordon Green, is directing a reboot of Halloween with a script co-written by Danny McBride. These dudes are big horror fans, and actually Danny McBride gave a pretty good performance in Alien Covenant, which had all sorts of problems, but his portrayal of a character named Tennessee was not among them. I thought he was good, and it showed that he can be funny but still be serious, and I think that that's a valuable thing. So Jason Blum of Blumhouse Pictures said that if it's not out by Halloween of 2018, he's going to cut his hand off, which I can only assume is hyperbole. If not, I definitely want to see the live stream of that. Like, well, guys, I gave my word. Now I'm going to give my hand. That is horror at its finest. Actually, it's fucking disgusting. But anyways, let's hope he doesn't have to do that. I'd love to see a 2018 Halloween. It rhymes every time. I always find myself doing something like that on every show. It's embarrassing. Anyways, Rob Zombie directed a Halloween reboot back in 2007, and it sucked. Fucking hate that movie. I don't hate Rob Zombie as a person. Very close to, no, his movies just stink. I'm not a fan of his band, White Zombie. It's his style. It's like white trash stuff. Like, that's it. It's just white trash. I'm not saying you shouldn't like the movie, because, lots of horror fans really like Rob Zombie, and who am I to say what you should or shouldn't like? I'm just a fucking idiot. What do I know? You know what I mean? It's just my opinion again, and I've got a platform to voice it, but hey, so do you. And if you want to have your opinions reaffirmed to you, there's plenty of places to do that. But for me, I just feel like his movies didn't capture the essence. He did Halloween and Halloween 2. And I feel like they may have missed the point of what made Michael Myers, a.k.a. The Shape, work so well in the first place. Granted, there's a dozen sequels to John Carpenter's movie, and they're all shit, too. The second and third are alright. Studio wanted more Michael Myers. Carpenter was planning on doing an anthology film. But anyways, I've digressed. There's one where he fights Busta Rhymes. Dude, you gotta see that one. At least watch the clip on YouTube, because it is amazing for all the wrong reasons. They jumped the shark, let's just say that. So it was the time for a reboot, and Rob Zombie had a very hot name in the horror community, so they were like, yeah, he's got to be the guy for the job, right? And what happened is Rob Zombie took what worked about Michael Myers, the force of nature that he was, as Dr. Loomis refers to him, and he attempted to give us an origin story that we didn't need. Like, what makes Michael Myers work is that he's unknowable. He seems indiscriminate in his violence, which we know that he's actually going after Laurie Strode, his sister from back in the day. I guess she's still his sister, but that's the thing. What made Michael Myers work is that you didn't know him. There's not a lot of blood in the original Halloween either, and that movie kind of defined the slasher genre. Like, he borrowed from Italian filmmaker Dario Argento. He's said it in interviews, Tenebrae and Deep Red, but everybody else copied what John Carpenter did. So he defined a genre. Rob Zombie just took this body of work and put his white trash slant on it and gave us an origin story. And origin stories never work. That's why I'm not excited about this new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because I don't want to know. What makes them compelling is that you don't know, and it's really not, the villain is not the star of the movie. Like, you don't need all of this. Like, where did Jaws come from? How did Jaws get so big? Let's have that movie. Like, where he's a little baby shark. Baby sharks are called pups, for any of you guys that were wondering. But he's a little pup, and he's swimming around getting big and shit. That's the movie I want to see. Actually, come to think of it, that kind of sounds cool. I guess it's just an average shark movie. Like, as a baby, Jaws was as big as a great white. So it's just like, what am I talking about? What am I talking about? Halloween. So, David Gordon Green, directing. Danny McBride co-wrote the script. They're both very enthusiastic horror fans, and they've got more than a blessing from John Carpenter to show that he endorses this film fully and that he wants to be involved. He has mentioned that he wants to score the film. If there's one thing I love about John Carpenter, it's the fact that he composes his scores and the music for his films, and it's freaking great. Carpenter's one of the most influential directors in this new generation of horror filmmakers. Adam Wingard did a movie called The Guest, and it very much felt like a John Carpenter movie, from the color palette to the music to just the storyline. There were a lot of elements that you know he was paying homage to John Carpenter. And just time and time again, John Carpenter has kind of permeated the cultural zeitgeist in the last couple of years. Does that sound smart? Permeated the zeitgeist. So yeah, I think John Carpenter is fantastic for a lot of reasons, but to think that he would be scoring the new film, it seems essential, because so much of what people remember about Halloween is the that's how it sounds like, I think. I'm just going to dub over that, put the actual keyboard part of wah, wah, wah. But yeah, what's weird is they actually used that theme in the Rob Zombie movie, and John Carpenter didn't score it, so that score exists, so are they going to do a new theme? I understand scoring is more than just composing the music for it, it's composing the music to the film, so there will be slight variations in it, but that melody, nobody's going to be any the wiser, I don't think. I will, because I'm nuts about movies and scores and all that stuff, so I'll be paying attention, but I think your average audience member is just when's it going to kill somebody? Not you, you're savvy, but speaking of audiences, just general mass audiences, it crossed $117 million over the weekend, making it the most successful release of an R-rated film ever, which is pretty freaking amazing. In fact, I think it's already grossed more than any other Stephen King film other than The Green Mile, which is just freaking crazy to think about it. I saw it, I reviewed it, I talked about it on yesterday's show, no reason for me to get back into it, but I do want to say this. You don't have to either love something or hate it. There's a whole spectrum in between. Let me try to even these out. There's a whole spectrum between black and white, guys. Perfection, the worst it could possibly be, and then all of this space in between. And even the best movies have problems. There's no such thing as a perfect movie. A lot of people would say it was like Citizen Kane or The Godfather. There's problems with every movie. Both those movies are too long. They're too long. But yeah, there's problems with every movie. And it is leagues better than most of the horror films that we get because it's well written and well directed and well acted from a character perspective. It's the kids, the Losers Club, that made me love the movie. And also there's this creepy atmosphere of this evil that permeates the cultural zeitgeist. No, that permeates the town of Derry. It's almost subconscious. Like, you can notice these things that, you know, they're eerie and they're unsettling. And even though it's never addressed, you can tell that there's something darker, an undercurrent throughout this entire town's history. And I think it's fascinating how that's explored in the movie without beating you over the head with it. I think that the costume design of it was really cool. It captures the period detail of the 80s without being like total nostalgia porn like Stranger Things. You know, there's some definite parallels between the two. But this is what I want to say. It's so manufactured in the scares department, you guys. Everybody's talking about it being like the scariest movie ever. I hate to say it, but 47 Meters Down was scarier to me because sharks are scary. Sharks are scary, y'all. You've heard me say it before. And they're real, you know? And I saw Annabelle Creation a couple weeks ago. The movie's fucking dumb. The characters are stupid. But David F. Sandberg can direct a scare sequence. You know, it's definitely got that James Wan vibe to it, which, The Conjuring, pretty scary movie. You know, there are scary movies out there that even though they don't, like, stick with me that much, I can feel the shock. And maybe it's because I understood that the outcome of it, that the stakes weren't there as much for me. But I also think it's because it kind of capped out, you know, the first scene in the movie is the Georgie in the sewer. And it never really hits that high again because we're able to see the performance behind Pennywise. We're able to see a shocking graphic scene without getting in any spoilers. And then they want to throw Pennywise at you like clockwork. Every fucking 10 minutes, there's another over-the-top, lack of subtlety, scary scene where, like, and I hate when they do this, where, like, the bad guy's up on you, and then he just, he drops the ball, he gets sidetracked and has to check his cell phone. I don't understand. Excuse me. If he's this ancient killer, then how are these fucking kids outsmarting him over and over again? Example, the scene where they're all looking through the slides of Derry, and you've seen it in the trailer, and it's almost like animation, and the hair flips off to the side in the wind, and you're revealed that it's Pennywise. I saw the guys on Red Letter Media say it, and I got to agree, like, if it would have got to the creepy picture where it makes eye contact with the kids, and then the projector cuts out, that would have been dope. That's all you need to see. Your imagination is a powerful thing. But when Pennywise comes jumping out of the screen like a cheap 3D haunted house effect, and the kids are all like, bah! And they run away, it's like, we didn't need all that. We don't need all that. And when I say we, I mean me. I'm not going to say what I want to say, but there must be some sort of status quo for what modern audiences, what general audiences expect out of movies, and the producers were probably like, you gotta hit this beat, they came for a clown, you better show them a fucking clown. And unfortunately, I think they showed us too much clown. So, perfection on the character and the story and the storytelling, major fail in the too much clown trying to be scary when it's really not department. So, take from it as you will. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. That's a pretty gleaming recommendation. I would maybe say a 3.5 out of 5 stars. But there's so many people like, best movie ever, best horror movie in decades. It's like, you don't watch horror movies, do you? Anyways, whatever. I'll move on from that. What are we talking? Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about child sex, guys. Stephen King released a statement basically saying, I find it fascinating that people are so hung up on the sex scene in the movie when there's so many kids getting killed. You know, I can kind of see where he's coming from with that. Americans have a weird hang-up about sex as opposed to violence. get an R rating if there's boobs in a movie, but James Bond can kill 50 fucking people, or any action movie. I don't know. I don't watch a lot of James Bond, but any hero can kill 50 people in an action movie. It'll still get a PG or PG-13. Look at Marvel movies, you know, killing the shit out of people up in Winter Soldier and Civil War. No problems there because there's no blood. So we are definitely detached from that. Obviously, they didn't put this scene in the movie. And you know what? I don't think it suffered for it. There's an entire chapter in it, which is a big-ass book. It's like 1,000 and something pages. So a chapter isn't a big chunk out of this book, but there's a chapter dedicated to after they kill the clown or after they defeat Pennywise, they're lost in these cavernous sewers. And Bev decides that to help them get out of the sewers, they all got a banger. As you do, you know, like, if you're lost, next time you're lost, find the nearest girl and you and your friends tag team her and see if that helps you get home. That's disgusting. That's disgusting even talking about adults. It's just wrong. Add to that Stephen King was a middle-aged man talking about 11-year-olds fucking and describing it in graphic detail in the novel for no real reason. He talks about it being a metaphor about the transition between childhood and adulthood. Whatever, maybe I can kind of see that too. But the whole thing about murdering kids, they're never justifying the murder of kids. Murdering kids is never portrayed as a good thing in this story. Like, it's not like, oh, good thing that a bunch of kids are dying, that'll turn them into adults. No, we realize this is bad. That's why we have to stop Pennywise. But nobody was there to stop Stephen King when he was trying to talk about kid gangbangs, which... just man, oh man, of course people are going to talk about that. It's fucking crazy. I've read Stephen King before, and I remember as a kid being shocked by some of the way that he explains sexual content. You know, I've read Anne Rice, and there's sex in those books, but there's something explicit about the language that Stephen King uses that makes it seem like conservative and weird. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Again, it's just my opinion. I could totally be wrong. But I don't think that scene needed to be in the story because the movies both worked fine without it. And there's like a blood pact at the end that could very much symbolically represent that very same thing that he was going to. They went through this ordeal. That in itself would transition them from the innocence of being children to being exposed to death and chaos and fear and all these things. And that, you know, carries them into adulthood. So I don't buy the metaphor. I think it's a fucking cop-out. I don't buy this idea that, like, oh, I don't understand why people are so puritanical about that. Dude, it's a little child molestery. Like, I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. All right, so what else about It? Andy Muschietti's talking about the sequel to It. Exciting on one hand. I think he did such a great job, and the kids in the film are so good that I'm curious about how they're going to try to recapture that magic. Obviously, there's tons of great actors and actresses out there, tons of great unknowns that haven't been discovered yet. And for me, again, what works so brilliantly about It was the Losers Club. Hopefully in the sequel, they will use flashbacks as a narrative device like they did in the miniseries and keep those kids, keep the cast in the movie, and hopefully even keep them as the focus of the movie because the adult part is not as compelling. It's just not. Especially the miniseries. Though the acting in the miniseries and the characters in the miniseries were so dumb. It was... oh man, you remember that movie so fondly because you were 10 or 5 when you saw it, but rewatch it and let me know what you think about it now. Yeah, so on one hand, I'd love to see what Muschietti does with the sequel. The studio would be foolish not to let him make the sequel. But what are we going to get out of the sequel? And is the studio going to step in and be like, the audience like Pennywise, so we got to put more Pennywise in it because people are smart? No, and I've said this a million times. Your imagination is what scares you. What you see isn't as scary as what you imagine, is what you anticipate. It's the suspense. It's the building to that thing. But when Mr. Leprosy's running at you, and then Pennywise is like, hello. But no, like, Mr. Leprosy gets up on you and he's just like, bleh, and you turn around and run, and then Pennywise is just like standing there. He's fucking worthless as a killer. He's worthless. He can't kill 6 little kids. It's their belief that protects them or whatever, but, I mean, come on. I mean, I understand it would be a shit movie if he just, like, killed all of the Losers Club, but you'd like to see more casualties or something to let you know, like, this guy's a threat. I mean, you hear about the history of Derry and see how much effect that he's had over the decades, but he can't stop these 6 kids. I don't understand it. But anyways, why am I shitting on this movie so much? I think it's because, I think the reason why I'm doing it, to be honest, is because I'm a little hipstery, and when people all universally praise something, I can't stand it, because we're in this love or hate culture, and the internet doesn't help it, but it's like, either it's the best movie in the world, or it's shit. It can't be in the middle. 3.5 and me not liking the scares and thinking there's too much Pennywise in it means that I must not like the movie. And that's not true. I had very high expectations of it going in. You know why? Because Rotten Tomatoes had it sitting at 100%. So 100% of people that saw the movie liked it. And I mean, I'm all for crowd pleasers. You know what I mean? Like, I like cinema that makes people, you know, that people enjoy. And I also think that it sets a new precedent for horror films. That's an exciting thing. Like, maybe they'll see, like, good characters will take your movie a long ways. Audiences like good stories. Audiences like strong characters. But I just wish that it would have held back and shown more restraint. Miniseries didn't, but again, the miniseries was shit. So, I don't know. That... I'm sure you probably think I'm wrong about that, and that's okay. Just kind of my thoughts about it. I've heard a lot of kind of casting choices and fantasy drafting of who's going to play the characters when they're older. And the one that's gotten the most heat behind it is Amy Adams playing Bev. And that's like such a no-brainer. Like, of course Amy Adams will play Bev. That is brilliant casting. She looks a lot like her. So, like, right on. And Amy Adams is a very talented actress. So that would be great casting. I don't know, you know, other characters. Like I said earlier, I think there's plenty of no names out there who could really do this story justice. But let's play a game. Let's decide who should play each of the characters from It down in the comment section. Use actors or actresses that we know. Well, you don't have to. I guess people can Google it. Just who do you think should be the Adult Losers Club? That's what I want to know. Real quick, I wanted to mention that The Shape of Water won Best Picture at the Venice Film Festival, and now it's getting a bunch of hype behind it about potentially being an Oscar winner, which is freaking awesome. I would love to see Guillermo del Toro win Director of the Year, Best Picture. So, most likely nominations. This is according to Adam Chitwood, I think, over at Collider.com. It's not like I sat down and wrote this list up because I wouldn't know. Okay, Adam Chitwood on Collider.com. And most likely nominations: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress in Sally Hawkins, Supporting Actor in Richard Jenkins, Original Screenplay, Production Design, Costume Design, Original Score, Editing, Makeup, and Hair. Possible nominations: Cinematography, Supporting Actress Octavia Spencer, Supporting Actor Michael Shannon, Sound Mixing. Wow, that is obviously just speculative, but if it won any 2 of those awards, that would be quite an achievement for a genre movie. If you want to hear more about my thoughts on The Shape of Water and Del Toro as a filmmaker, check out yesterday's video. I'll go ahead and move on from that. Sorry if I came off rude about It, guys. That was what was on my mind at that minute, and I just let it rip. I hope you liked it. I definitely did. It's that universal praise, man, where people can't acknowledge when there's something wrong with something. Okay, so last month, actor Ed Skrein was hired for the Hellboy reboot. If you guys weren't aware, speaking of Del Toro, he was supposed to do a Hellboy 3 for quite some time, but he wanted like $200 million to make the movie, which is fucking insane. So they decided to go in a different direction and reboot it with Neil Marshall directing it. Neil Marshall did Dog Soldiers He did The Descent, and he directed several episodes of Game of Thrones. And that's not all, but that's all that's noteworthy. He did a movie called Doomsday also, which is fine. It is fine. So Neil Marshall's going to direct it. David Harbour of Stranger Things, dude with freaking the forehead. Like, you got to have the forehead. Ron Perlman had it. Like, your brow has to go out further than your nose does. Yeah, I would never be able to do it. But, like, it's like kind of like an ape. Like a great ape, like a gorilla. So anyways, David Harbour, great actor. He played the sheriff in Stranger Things. He's been in a lot of movies. Check out his IMDb. He's in Black Mass and other stuff. Newsroom, other stuff, though. Anyways, Ed Skrein was casted to play... I don't know what the name of the character is... A character of Asian descent from the Hellboy comic books. And there was a big backlash, as there typically is when things happen on the internet, but a lot of people were crying whitewashing again. And it has become a problem in the industry. I've got my own thoughts about it, obviously. I can go on a rant about it if you'd like me to. I believe that you shouldn't have to cast according to race. I believe that you shouldn't have to cast according to gender. I think that the fact that Patty Jenkins has to direct Wonder Woman and the fact that Ryan Coogler has to direct Black Panther kind of boxes people in, right? Again, just my opinion. But the thing is, people of color are so underrepresented in film. How much of a percentage of actors and characters in film are black? How many percentage of actors, directors, anything other than James Wan are Asian? There's not a huge pool of celebrities that you can cast for those roles. You know, you're like, I need an Asian actor. Who do you go to? You got 5 people you can go to. You want a good black actor? Well, look, they're using the same guys over and over again because they don't cast a very wide net in Hollywood. They want to use big names that have a draw to them. And this is kind of a snake eating its own tail thing, because if you don't hire the unknown women directors, if you don't hire the unknown Asian directors, then nobody's able to be the next big thing. So until we get to a place where everything is equal and that Asians and blacks and whites and everybody are being represented in film instead of just a very specific group of people, then I understand the validity to let a woman portray women. Let a black guy direct a movie about the black experience. I get it. In a utopia, in my ideal world, everything's equal. You don't have to be a woman that, like, Patty Jenkins could be up for the Avengers. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how my mind idealizes things. I understand that's not the world we live in. Ed Skrein realized there was a massive backlash about this casting on social media. So after, I guess, careful consideration, he came out with a statement basically saying, I understand that there is heritage involved with this character. I don't feel that I'm a good fit for it. I'm stepping down. Ed Skrein, by the way, I didn't tell you guys, he played Dario in the first, like, when he first showed up in Game of Thrones before they switched the actors. And then he also played Ajax in Deadpool. So he's a fairly well-known actor. Not huge, not a household name. And maybe this could have helped his notoriety or his celebrity. But he chose not to go that route. He chose integrity over a paycheck. And, man, I got to commend him for that. That is a classy fucking move. Plus, he put the studio in a position to where they were like, shit, we got to do something about this. We can't go cast another white dude, which was brilliant, you know, that he publicly put him on blast, and they had to respond accordingly. Who's to say what they would have done if he didn't, if he just silently backed away? But I think that is so smart, where, you know, the Ghost in the Shell people were trying to make excuses about why they casted her, and then she ended up being Asian at the end, trapped in a white girl's body. Yikes. But whatever. Like I said, I don't like this whole climate of outrage, especially by myself. Like, why am I going to be mad? I feel for the people, like, if Asian Americans and Asian people want to be like, fuck that, I support them. But for me to come out and be like, I'm offended by this, it's like, fuck me. Because what? I have no dog in this race or no horse in this race. And again, I support people. I support Asians, decision behind this. Not everybody. I mean, some people probably got a fuck perspective about just whatever. But if it's an issue, it's an issue. I get it. I support you if you think it's an issue. But I don't support a bunch of liberal snowflakes going around and saying that being offended for other people, mansplaining and talking about diversity and all that shit. And here I sit. But I think that's a beautiful story. I really like the way that was all handled. But let's talk about the guy that actually got casted, because that seems to be the thing getting overshadowed in this story. His name is Daniel Dae Kim. He is not a super well-known actor. However, he has a pretty extensive list of credits, including Hawaiian 5-0. He was on Lost. He's done some other stuff, and I heard he's good. I am not familiar with him at all. I've never watched those things that I just mentioned. So despite the fact that I know Ed Skrein, but I don't know him, doesn't take away from the fact that this is cool. Like I said, I've heard he's talented. So let's just hope that even if just because he's Asian doesn't mean he's going to give her a good performance. So let's hope that on top of just being Asian, he's going to give us a good performance. That would be good. Because it'd be garbage if they hired him and they brought him in and he was just a shit actor, and it's just like, well, at least he's the right color. Because that's not what we're about, right? It's not just all about color and race. He was in MacGyver, the recent TV series, Allegiant, Insurgent, Once Upon a Time, the TV show. He's done a lot of voice acting in television, so he's stayed working over a long time. And again, I'm all about it. We'll give it a shot. I'm excited about the new Hellboy and the direction that they're taking with it. I love GDT, as you well know. But I'd like to see a darker, more gritty, small-budget approach to the material. I want to see a more mature take on it, because we saw Del Toro's take on it. It was very imaginative, very creative, had brilliant practical effects and monster makeup in it. But now let's see a different version of that, and I think Neil Marshall's the right guy to bring it to the screen. Thank you guys so much for coming by. What do you want to talk about? We got a comment section for it, so whatever you want to discuss, this is the forum to do it. If you enjoyed this video, what are you going to do? You're going to take a second and you're going to click that like button right down there and let me know, because some asshole is going to just click the dislike button every time, no matter what I do. So help me tip the scales, as I've said before. And if you want to stay up to date with all of the Movies Are Terrible content, then just click that subscribe button and enable the bell for notifications. Don't worry about my Patreon account, because I ain't got one. This YouTube channel has not been monetized. I'm not making money off views. I'm just here to talk with you guys. Hopefully we can spread the word, let them know that I'm over here bagging on your favorite movies, bagging on your favorite directors, bagging on everything that we hold dear, because that's straight up terrible. I'm Jeremy. Peace out.